What's cooking, folks? Vermillion Phoenix here, and today we're jumping into some Orcs Must Die 3. This time we will be heading into Scenario 10, the Coastal Hallways. And this is the first level that I think really gave me trouble when I was going through the campaign War Mage. Something slipped by whatever setup I was using at the time and made it into the Rift, and I didn't see it on the map. I assumed it just got blown up via haymakers or some other physics trap and kind of just floated through the ceiling into the Rift. Can't guarantee that's what happened, but it was sort of odd to me. And I sort of waited to go back and 5-star this one, which I eventually did. And then, of course, it's a little bit more difficult in Rift Lord just because of the lack of cash that you get and the fact that there's 2 entryways to the upstairs area where the rift is located here, because this is a 2-level vertical stage. So you start on the bottom floor, and that's where all the enemies spawn from. There's 3 gates. They open middle, right, and then left if you're looking at the mini-map. But there are a significant number of sappers that will be showing up on this level. So while you don't have to deal with a bunch of sappers early, any sort of barricade solution will either have to include baited sappers or bait for the sappers, or something that will be able to take care of them without them really being able to run up and destroy the barricade solution that you have. Now, this runs into a couple of problems. 2 of the gates are very, very close to where barricades can be placed for guiding enemies, and if you want to funnel them down the hallway that I like to use here, that means that basically you'll have to put a series of double barricades in front of one of the spawns. Now, the good thing here is that there is a lot of trap space around this stage, and you can trap up the entryways to where enemies will be coming through. And if you're using ceiling traps, especially the auto ballista, you have a good amount of places where you can place them where they'll be affecting multiple lanes, or at least able to target enemies very quickly after they come out of their spawn gates, which leads to really fast clears as long as you are actually spending your coin as soon as you can. You do need a game plan in mind because of that, and of course, as you can see here, we also have fire elementals, which is kind of nuts, because you'll be dealing with sappers, fire elementals, earth elementals, and a lot of trolls and gnolls. So you'll have to be on your guard against enemies that can attempt to tank through a lot of traps. And also, because of the fire lords, or the fire elementals, they're not lords yet, you can't really 100% rely on fire traps, which normally deal a buttload of damage, to actually get through everything that'll be coming through here. So the beginning is basically just spam arrow walls with a couple of ballista to catch anything that happens to be sprinting through. After you get through the first 2 waves, which shouldn't be too tough, mainly because it's only 2 gates. And if you barricade off the right side, they don't have anything that's super dangerous to barricades immediately, because the elemental fire lords have to be destroyed before they actually can damage barricades. You'll want to keep an eye on the barricades that you use to block the stairs that are right in front of this area, if you block it off this way specifically. But as long as you make sure that they don't get to go through those stairs by either placing another set of barricades at the top, or making sure that enemies do not manage to destroy the barricades that are initially blocking those, you should be fine. That Brimstone there, and this stage I forgot to actually completely level my Brimstones, so they're not Arcane, they're actually fire, which means that this could be done a lot better if I actually had my Brimstone set up correctly. But if you had your Brimstone properly set up to deal Arcane damage, there will be a lot less damage happening to my barricades over here. But I goofed, and that also means that they will do nothing against the fire elementals. But we have enough damage coming from the Ballista and the Blunderbuss to really not have to worry about that too much, which is good. And the amount of Ballista that we throw up in this level is just... if you love Ballista, it is a fun time. If you are not a fan of seeing the Ballista basically chew through every minion that the Orcs have in their army, then, you know, you might not enjoy this level too much, or at least not the way I play it here. But because Ballista and arrow walls are so strong, this setup essentially makes it so that you're only dealing with the fire enemies and gnolls. There are so many placements for arrow walls on this level that you essentially wind up just fighting whatever can't be blown up by fire. And it's only fire elementals. Now, you'll see here, this is when we start to run into situations where there's just so many sappers, the kobold sappers that explode when they hit barricades. They're just going to start damaging the barricades that we have near the area that I like to create a pocket for myself in, which is near the rear steps there. Those barricades will get attacked, and that's the area that's probably the most dangerous. Again, if you have some extra coin and you don't feel like placing a lot of ballista or arrow walls, you can go ahead and place, you know, use 2,500 or 2,400 coin to place another set of barricades right at the top of that stair landing, and then you should be safe. But otherwise, that's a good 6 additional arrow walls, and you can see right as we get to this area here and it starts getting trapped up a bit more, or the trap coverage increases, you'll notice that like everything kind of dies around this little pocket here. This is kind of where the 3 lanes meet up for the first time, and then they'll eventually start going down that hallway. So if you're placing the ballista, I like to make sure they can shoot down the hallway, but also shoot anything that comes in between these arrow walls. And while arrow walls normally have a pretty decent cooldown, like they're not gonna basically be machine guns, they're inexpensive enough and deal enough damage that you can spam them almost religiously. Like, you can put them everywhere and they are never a bad idea, except when you have a ton of fire resistant enemies. Like if the level is only fire fiends, then you might want to calm down with the arrow wall spam just a tad. But you could use other things here. The tricky part of it is that there's so many fire elementals that'll spawn firelings here that if you try to funnel the enemies specifically with barricades here for bottlenecking, what you'll find is that you lose a lot of forward barricades due to the fire lords kind of, or the firelings, eventually breaking down and then clustering up to blow up whatever barricade they die near. And it always happens that they path kind of weirdly when they spawn because they're not yet following the flags, and I think the pathing flags have them move towards whatever the closest flag is, and then they sort of gain their bearings from there. So a lot of times they'll kind of back up and then blow up a nearby barricade that's along the path that everything else is still moving up, and I misplaced that tar there, and that leads to everything getting a little bit closer. The firelings also behave a little bit weird in this game sometimes, where they will sometimes attempt to path to areas where they should probably just be trying to blow up a barricade yet, but again, they have like some weird spawn logic. And I'm not 100% sure how it behaves in every single case, but I'm pretty sure it has something to do with the distance that they move from the areas that they're trying to pass through. But otherwise, Ballista are your friend here. If you have the Drastic Steps update and you have unlocked the ceiling lasers, if you leave them electric, you can't use the fire ceiling lasers to the same effect here. If you leave them electric and purchase the 5 laser upgrade, they will be amazing at dealing with a lot of the things that are here. And then you can see why I need the double barricades here. But ceiling lasers would also be extremely good in this situation. You could actually drop probably the ceiling darts and bring the ceiling lasers, and then you could leave the lasers kind of in the area that enemies will be walking through, and bring the Ballista to fire or to set up next to it, and you'll have a lot of additional damage just due to the fact that the lasers are a continuous trap, and they hurt big enemies a lot. Also, because a lot of the heavy enemies are weak against lightning, so you know they're sort of double dipping in the really good attribute category, being a ceiling trap that deals consistent damage and also just never stops. It's nice. But we'll go into that probably in a bit more detail when I cover drastic steps. So you'll see that I'm going through this pretty quick, and that's primarily due to fire arrow walls being kinda OP against everything that isn't fire resistant. And I think this is the reason why so many fire resistant enemies eventually wind up appearing later on beyond these levels. Because without the fire fiends, fire arrow walls are kinda OP in this game. Like, not even gonna sugarcoat that. They do a lot of damage, they're inexpensive, and they have a decent recharge time. Like, they're not super fast, but they fire enough times that like they really are like one of the best burst damage traps. Whereas that used to not be the case, mainly because of things like enemy scale. They're just extremely good in this situation. And you'll see that even the heavier enemies that normally take a few traps to kill, the combination of the Arcane Ballista increasing the damage that the fire arrow walls do is really good, and that's one of the reasons why I really like having the Arcane Brimstone as well. It has the same sort of damage amplification effect due to the attribute that you get from Arcane, and that's that level. Like, it's not super difficult, but it just requires that you pay attention to where the difficult spawn areas are going to be. And this shows me that I can purchase upgrades because my Brimstone was not upgraded the way it should be here. Either way, let me know what you guys think of this level overall. Did it give you any trouble? Like, was it super easy for you? I think there's an endless version of it too. If you guys want to see some endless or something like that, feel free to let me know in the comments, and I will get some of that put up after I'm finished the Rift Lord levels. And we can also talk individually about the traps and just how I feel about them. Maybe there's some things that you guys understand or know about them that I haven't quite gotten yet. Either way, as always, I sincerely appreciate you guys watching through to the end of this video and taking a look at everything that I'm putting up here. Hope you enjoyed it as well. And if you feel like it, feel free to follow me over on twitch.tv. That's where I do my live stuff now. And you know, you can follow me here on YouTube as well, and you'll see when I'm going live next. But until then, until we see each other again, either live or on the next video, as always, take care of yourself and have a good one, folks. Peace.